Hi, I'm Amy. I'm a manifestation and relationship mentor, and this channel is all about merging spirituality and psychology so that you can manifest your relationships. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about what your attachment style has to do with manifesting and how you can really heal your attachment style so that you can become secure and confident in yourself and attract a relationship that really mirrors that. And so you can have the relationship that you truly desire. If you like this content, please consider subscribing to this channel and leaving this video a like so that other people have access to it. But let's dive in. So I'm certified in healing attachment styles. And I discovered my attachment style probably around 18 months, 2 years ago. And really, it was the key for me to actually understanding how I was sabotaging my relationships and how I could actually stop doing it. So, what has your attachment style got to do with manifesting? And I think people become confused with this because they don't see how psychology links with manifesting. They understand that it's their beliefs that are being reflected back at them. But actually, to me, in my perspective, spirituality and psychology are very much interlinked. When you understand that the outside world is your mirror, it is literally reflecting all parts of you, then you will see how psychology merges with spirituality quite comfortably. So, what has your attachment style got to do with anything, really? Why is your attachment style so important when it comes to maintaining a relationship? And the first thing I would say is it's important to understand that your attachment style is only ever a coping strategy. It's a coping mechanism that you adopted when you were a child in order to survive. So, for example, if you are anxiously attached and you're somebody who is afraid of being abandoned, you cling to relationships and you really do need the relationship in order to feel happy and whole and secure and confident. This would have been a coping strategy when you were younger. And the reason why I say this is from my personal experience, I had parents that were present physically but not emotionally, and speaking to them about anything was kind of like rolling a dice. I didn't know what I was going to get, which led me to grow up in an environment that was quite unstable. And this instability became my comfort zone. And I brought that instability into my adult relationships. So even if I had had a stable relationship, my subconscious mind would not see that as familiar. So I would create chaos in order to feel safe and comfortable, even though it wasn't serving me. So when you can understand that your attachment style is only ever a coping strategy, and that is what the root of this is, it's a coping strategy that you picked up to be able to survive when you were younger, you can see how breaking that is necessary because you're no longer a child, you're no longer in that situation, and you deserve to have a relationship that's fulfilling, where you're not scared and you feel secure and confident in that relationship. So, what has your attachment style got to do with manifestation? And this is something that I'd really struggled to compute and grapple with. I couldn't see, I knew that there was a problem with my attachment style and I knew that I was attached, but I couldn't see how I was manifesting that now. So what was actually happening? Because I had these core wounds, this trauma and these belief systems which created part of my attachment style, including codependency, I was just attracting and manifesting situations where that pattern had to happen over and over and over again because it was a subconscious comfort zone. And the subconscious will do whatever it takes to keep you in that subconscious safety zone because it's what's familiar. So it doesn't care about how healthy it is. It doesn't care about what the aftermath is. It just wants familiar. And when we can see this and when we can understand that, okay, even though this pattern isn't serving me, even though this pattern is causing me more trauma, more heartache and more pain, the subconscious mind sees it as safe because that is what you are used to. So when you can really go in and identify what your attachment style is, maybe you're fearful avoidant. So maybe you have got the anxious part of the attachment style, but also the avoidant side of the attachment style where you can shut your feelings off. You can do that as a strategy to protect yourself, but also you see the bad side of that, where you push people away, you don't trust people, you want to have this relationship but you don't trust that it's going to stick around, so you put your barriers up, you put your walls up. And maybe you can see how that is sabotaging relationships, because nobody wants to be in a secure relationship with somebody who has their guard up 100% of the time, where there is no intimacy and there is no vulnerability. We need vulnerability and intimacy in order to have an interdependent, secure relationship. So we can see how both sides of the scale, although they are quite effective coping strategies, they're not actually serving us, because really what we want is that secure relationship, which we're not going to get if on one hand we're clinging to the other person, wanting them to meet all of our needs, frightened that they're going to leave us, so we cling even more, we move into codependency. But we also don't want a relationship where we feel like we've got to have guard up all the time, we feel like we can't trust the other person, that the other person's going to hurt us. We want to remove those things so that we can be secure, so that we can have a healthy relationship. And when we can break those patterns and break those beliefs, we can move more into secure within, and that gets reflected on the outside, where we have and we manifest secure situations, because it becomes who we are. Security and confidence is what we're now identifying with. We're not identifying with the one that's going to be left. We're not identifying with the one who's going to get hurt. And how we do this is we really go down deep to see where those attachment styles come from. What beliefs do we have which make it so that attachment style became part of us? So if you are avoidant, or at least on that way to the scale, you might have beliefs around you being defective, you being alone forever, that someone's going to hurt you, that other people can't be trusted. You being on that end of the scale may mean, as a coping strategy, you've come up with really unreasonable boundaries. They might not seem unreasonable to you, but to a secure person, those boundaries might seem completely unreasonable. Or you might be the other end of the scale and anxious, where you've got no boundaries at all, and people overstep all of the time because you've got no boundaries there to protect yourself. There is no protection. So you can see how you can go from one end of the scale with no boundaries, no protection at all, to the other end where you are completely protected and it's just impenetrable. And that isn't gonna be conducive to the secure relationship that you want. So what we want to do is we want to think about why we do that. What is it that about this that's serving me? Why can't I trust other people? Or the other side of it, why am I afraid that people are going to leave me? Why do I cling to people? Why do I go into codependent patterns so that people don't leave me? Why don't I think that I'm okay just on my own? Why don't I think that I can meet my own needs? And what we're doing when we're in these attachment styles, or particularly when these attachment styles are triggered, these coping strategies show up. So say, for example, I'll use my own experience as an example. I was anxiously attached and my partner was dismissive avoidant. When there was conflict and we broke up, I would go into clinging and chasing. He would go into walls more up, more boundaries, no speaking to me, can't trust me. And we had to heal those things to be able to come together in a secure, interdependent relationship. We had to let go of those coping strategies, and this can feel really vulnerable. But when you see the cost of those strategies, which were more conflict, more hurt, more heartache, more distrust, you can see how these coping strategies don't actually work, and they're not going to get you what you want in the long run. But in terms of manifestation, you're just going to continue to attract situations, or find yourself in situations where your attachment style is triggered and your coping strategies are triggered as well. So how do we break this pattern? How do we break these patterns that aren't serving us? Even though we know that they're not serving us, why are they so hard to break? And the answer to that is survival. We needed them. When we were younger, we needed them because we depended on our parents for survival. We saw our parents as godlike. We saw our parents as right to do what they did. We didn't have the capacity to question what was happening to us. So we came up with coping strategies. That is all that this is. And we've just perpetuated those strategies. And the more we've done it, the more that we believed it. And it is an undoing of those things that will help you release those beliefs and release those coping mechanisms. So just to use an example from my own life, I was a big clinger. And if there was an argument, even if we hadn't split up, if there was an argument, I would go into codependent strategies. And what I mean by this is that I would say or do whatever it took to stop the argument, to stop the conflict. I would lie through my back teeth in order to get the stability, my own need for stability met, and which really was a strategy to not get left. And I had to stop doing that. And what I had to do in those situations was to stop myself and ask myself, what do I need right now? So instead of going above and beyond to meet his needs, to stop the argument, what do I need right now? Okay, well, I need space. I need to sit with myself right now. And I would do that. I would say, right, I'm taking space. I'll be back in half an hour. And I would go and sit with myself and process what was going on. And likewise, my partner had to stop threatening to end the relationship. He had to stop threatening the security of the relationship. And we both had to do this because ultimately we both wanted to be together. We both wanted a secure relationship and we didn't want to hurt each other anymore. So we really had to both dig deep to stop this happening, because when it's a subconscious mechanism, it is so hard to stop. But the more and more you can become aware of your own patterns and know yourself more, you can go back and you can think, right, okay, if this happened again, what would I do? What would the secure version of me do? And really going into that, and really say, for example, if you are anxiously attached, really going into, okay, I'm relying on this person to meet a whole lot of my needs. How can I meet these needs myself? How can I at least get halfway to meet these needs myself? And if you're avoidant, for example, you might think, right, okay, instead of throwing the towel in and ending the relationship, maybe I can just take space. Maybe I need to communicate that a bit better to my partner. Because what would happen in my relationship is that he would just, boom, that's it, gone. And he would disappear. And I would be left feeling really abandoned, really anxious. And then my coping strategies would trigger, and I would overtext. I would try and, I would overstep his boundaries. So what we had to do was, communicate with each other a bit better. And I had to communicate and say, when you do this, I feel really, really abandoned. It makes me lose trust in the relationship. And he had to come up with his own strategies then to stop that from going any further. So, when he needed space, he would tell me he was taking space. He would tell me how long he needed space for, and then we'd come together and sort it out. And in that case, I felt reassured, and he didn't feel like I was overstepping his boundaries. And that's also a really good example of you not having to be fully healed before you get your relationship. You don't have to be. It is completely possible that you grow together. So if you're interested in diving deeper into your attachment styles, check out my attachment style playlist. I've got tons of videos on there and how you can really see what attachment style you are. I have a self-study course which is available in the description box below on how to really shift into security and how to do that permanently. And I shall see you in the next video.